Scrawlrbox unboxing and challenge is going to be a little special. Why, you ask? Well, let me show you. What's this? The artist of the month looks so familiar. Whoever could it be? Acting. That's right, this month's Scrawlrbox artist of the month is yours truly. It's me. These are my ants. If you don't know who I am, I'm Casey and I like to draw ants. So here I am. Who needs to read about me? This is me. I'm me. I have been enjoying all of the posts you guys have been sharing with me and tagging me in, saying that you were so surprised and excited to get this month's Scrawlrbox, or last month rather. This is for September. Every time I check my social media, someone was very excited to see that was in this month's Scrawlrbox, and it just made me so happy. So thank you guys so much for sharing, and I'm glad you enjoyed the box. Now, I did have some influence on what was going to be in the box, but I didn't have full control because obviously there's restrictions, whether it be costs or availability of items. But there were a few things that I wanted to try, and Scrawlrbox pitched me something. So I'm actually really excited about trying one of these items. So let's get into it. Enough rambling. So let's just get our black and white sticker up there. Looks like it's ready for Inktober. Our list of supplies for September. Our candy, which is a watermelon Jolly Rancher, which really takes me back to my childhood. And this is so cute. This is a postcard with the line art of my illustration of the ants on it. So it's just the black line art. And this is a watercolor paper that you can color and then send it off to someone. So this is super adorable, super cute. I really like this little addition to this box. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put a little swatching sheet right here for all of our supplies, and this paper is Bockingford Watercolor 300 GSM, a beautiful English watercolor paper. We also have a Winsor & Newton fine liner. It's a nice fat boy, so I don't know, a nice fat boy. There you go. We also have this Pentel orange mechanical pencil, because why not? Every fat boy needs some decoration, right? And of course, because we are going to be dealing with watercolor, we have our Mylan round synthetic brush 611, which I will be testing in a minute with our Viviva Watercolor Sheets. I've been wanting to try these sort of gimmicky watercolors for a while, and Scrawlrbox was like, hey, you want to do this? And I was like, absolutely, yes, sign me up. So these are sheets of watercolor. I suppose it makes it very handy to travel with because they're very flat. So there's a thin layer of watercolor to make sure that this is as handy to take with you as possible. I'm going to assume that maybe they're very pigmented. Look at this violet. This violet looks green? What? This is green, but it's violet. And this is blue, but it looks red. What? I know watercolors are very saturated, so they look way darker in their palettes than they actually are, but that was a completely different color. I am really curious to swatch these. So a few features about this Viviva Watercolor Sheet situation. They have this water resistant situation in between so that the colors don't absorb or mix into each other. And in the back, you can stick this, I guess, mixing sort of palette thing onto it, which is really interesting. They want to make this as handy as possible. That said, I absolutely love swatching. Let's ding get into it. Well, excuse me, I got this piece of paper to do our swatching, but you can actually swatch directly onto these sheets. There's a little section right there for you to swatch. So I guess we're going to do that instead. All right, let's do it. Let's grab this crimson. Oh wow, I barely had to grab anything and it just came right onto the brush. It is so pigmented. Wow, okay. That's interesting. I'm really curious to see how these work in an illustration. So I decided that I also want to get some swatches on our piece of paper here just because I like to see how our watercolors work on actual watercolor paper. I'm not really sure what these watercolors come on, but I just want to make sure that I know how they're actually going to react and work on like actual paper. They feel pretty nice, and gosh, they are pigmented. Wow. Oh, interesting. So I turned to the vermilion and you can see our watercolor sheet kind of peeling off there, so you can kind of see how it works. That's interesting. So right away, I'm already noticing how inconvenient these watercolors might be. If you get one of these wet and then you want to move on to, say, blue, oh my God, there's a sap green. I just got really excited. There's actually a sap green. I'm super excited now. Anyways, so if your sheet is still wet, I'm sure that's what this is for, to protect it, but I can't help but be a little paranoid about getting a bunch of water everywhere, so I should probably, on the next one, just flip it over and let it be wet and see how well this sheet works for protection. So yeah, we'll do that next time. All right, so, okay, so I'm going to ignore the fact that they are a little bit wet and just fold this over and see what happens. Moving on to Burnt Umber, which has a very interesting texture on its sheet. It's all dotty. It's kind of cute. Okay, this is what I'm excited about. I love my greens. So we're going to do light green. Oh my gosh, I love that. I love it. It looks like poop. The sheet looks like a reddish color, so I'm interested to see. Wow, look how different that color is from the sheet to the watercolor. That's so interesting. I've never seen anything like that with watercolor. And this is what I mean by I wanted to swatch the colors on an actual piece of paper as opposed to just doing it on this. So you can see where I put down the color and I put water next to it, and it didn't really blend into it very well. It kind of went on the paper and sat there. Whereas where I put the watercolor down and then added water to it, it spread out and made a nice gradient. So it's sitting on top of the paper a lot better than it is just soaking into these. So you want to make sure you swatch your watercolors or whatever material on an actual piece of paper you're going to work with. Different papers react differently to different materials, so you just want to make sure you know what you're getting into. Oh, and let's check out what our watercolor did to these little pieces of paper in the middle. Okay, so this is where we have a wetness on it, and I don't know what exactly they are doing, but I guess it didn't spread or whatever. I don't know. There it is. And moving on to our last four colors, I cannot wait to try that violet and see it turn from green to violet. There's a purple that turned to blue. That's so interesting. I'm just having fun being blown away by the difference in pigment from being so condensed to being used. It's just so interesting to me. Okay, let's watch this go from green to violet. Oh, I can already see it go. That's so interesting. What materials do they use to make it look like green, but purple when wet? That's so weird to me. What? What is that? These two colors are just so different from what they look like when they're all condensed into that tightly packed, saturated piece of whatever. It's so interesting. Okay, hold on. We might have a problem here. Okay, so, alright, so it looks like we're running into a very strange issue with these watercolors, and it's not something I thought about, but that's really interesting. I put down quite a thick layer of violet, and you can see it's starting to turn green. Wow, so what does that mean? I don't know, but that's a very curious issue. Oh my gosh, you can even see it's turning green on our swatch sheet as well. Ooh, that's not something you want. That's really interesting. Okay, we have swatched our Viva watercolors. They're nice and bright and vivid, and I'm curious to know about this whole green-purple situation because that just doesn't seem ideal. Love these greens. I mean, love those greens. Maybe not so much this green, what's happening there. And I already know the theme of the month because I chose it. It's feeling buggy because, get it? Ants. So maybe I'll doodle some ants doing different things. It might be cute. So because the prompt is feeling buggy, like I said, I want to draw ants or an ant, like a larger scale drawing of my ants. And I want to try to do a variety of colors just because I do want to test a lot of these colors out and see how they work in a full illustration. So I'm going to have an ant doing something. I was thinking about doing something with food just because ants and food go together so well, but I'm not really sure. I was thinking maybe just like an ant riding a piece of toast through space because, I mean, why not, right? That's what I think of when I think of ants. and stuff. I don't know why I drew that. That was very boring. Okay, so let's think about an ant riding a piece of toast, and there's going to be jam on it, and that jam is going to be blasting off. And then I'll have a space background because I want to see how these colors are going to blend or how easy it's going to be. That's really cute. I really like the pose is kind of off, so let's workshop that. Also, you know, I was thinking it would be fun if I had other bugs. So let's see, I would like to do a beetle. What does a beetle look like? Let's see. I think I'll just stick with an ant on a piece of toast. Oh, but those greens. I'll have to put that green somewhere. Oh man. You know what I want to do? Gosh, I really wish I didn't say I was gonna do space. Now I can't turn back. I really want to mess with those greens. They're just so beautiful. I never actually tested these pens with the watercolor. Oh, okay, so that pen needs some time to dry. I'm just used to Scrawlr microns. They dry so quickly, like instantly. I really like the nice small tip of this watercolor brush. I don't have a watercolor brush that goes to quite a tip like this. It's really nice. For comparison, so this, I guess it is called a round, but look how much more pointed that is. I love this. Okay, let's go ahead and draw our ant flying through space on a piece of toast, because why not? All right, we've got our other piece of paper nice and clean. I am just going to go ahead and start penciling out our ant. All right, and let's put some jam. Maybe I could make it green jam just so I can use green. I was probably going to use purple or like a red color. We'll just have to see, huh? I'm curious to see how that violet is going to turn out, considering it was turning green as I used it. Let's check back on it. Maybe it's had some development. Nope, it looks like it is still got that green about it, I guess because it was too thick. That is so interesting. And you can see where I used the blue, where that pink color has turned blue because it was reactivated and then dried. I don't really know how these paints work. But now I want to do some research and see what is up with that, huh? The only thing they say in the booklet is the color sheets look different than their actual color on paper as the pigment is super saturated. But a saturated purple to me looks more like black, not green. So that's really fun, but scary when your purple turns green. All right, so we've got our line work for our ant going through space, and then we will color it, but I'm going to erase the pencil marks first. Wow, I'm surprised at how long it takes for this fine liner to dry. I'm picking up a lot of the ink as I erase, so that's really scary. This is why I'm so attached to Scrawlr micron pens, because they dry super fast and you can pretty much put watercolor on them immediately. While that continues to dry before we put watercolor on it, I am going to mix a few colors in here because I know there's some colors that I am going to want that we don't have. All right, so I'm going to be putting down a wash of color for our space, and I'm a little scared about how adding color is going to work for some reason. I don't know. Usually I also avoid black when it comes to space because I just find it really boring, and space can be so colorful and fun. But this black color they gave us is kind of like a purpley black, and I really like that. So I'm going to use that as the base color just to make sure our space is a little bit more on the dark side, and then I'm going to add these purple tones to it. Mainly because they're on the same sheet, and flipping through is really hard when everything's wet. The setup of these colors is a little awkward. I do have to wonder if they are more made for traveling because they are so compact. It's just really awkward to have this floppy thing open when I'm trying to work on things. And because I'm working so quickly, I'm having to just leave this little piece of paper on there wet, even though they suggested to not do that. But because I'm grabbing so many different colors, I'm not sure what to do other than put them in my palette, which for some reason I'm trying to avoid. Probably should have taped the paper down so it didn't buckle as much. And also so that I had a free hand. Oh gosh. It's kind of difficult to hold the watercolor open while also trying to hold the paper down. A little bit of regret there. This was actually the purple I was going to use for jam, but I guess I'm not going to use it anymore because I'm putting it in space everywhere. Oh no, I didn't leave any room for stars. As in, I didn't do anything to allow for stars because we don't have any white markers or anything. That's kind of a bummer, huh? Nice, well this is our space scene. I think we have some nice textures. The colors are insanely bright and vivid. I'm just like, wow, what the heck? This doesn't really look like a space scene. I think it's kind of all over the place. But I think it was just kind of awkward working through these pieces. But that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to wait for this to dry before I add any other colors. Okay, I think we're all dry, so I'm going to color our ant. Okay, let's get some crust brown for that toast. It's nice that they have these colors right here so you can quickly switch to whichever tab you need. That's always nice. Wait, hold on. Okay, what if instead of making a green spread, we just made it moldy toast with jam on it? And then I also use red for the jam because I do want to use a variety of colors just to test them out. And the more colors, the merrier. Okay, let's make some moldy bread. I'm excited. I'm trying to work fast so that I can put some mold on the bread while it's still wet so that it spreads out and looks like mold. But now I'm being sloppy. It looks like a lot of these watercolors reactivate really easily. If you get too close to them, they will spread into other colors. So that's a little unfortunate. Okay, let's add some mold. Ew, oh my gosh, it looks just like mold, gross. So that was the light green. I'm gonna go in with sap green to darken some of these moldy parts. Perfect. And last but not least, I'm going to add the pink or red jam and also the red mouth to the ant. I find it really hard to control just how saturated the colors are that I grab, so I'm actually just going to put the red that I want for the jam into a palette just so I have more control over how dark it is, I guess. I don't want it to be too dark. Spaces, oh my gosh, I'm reactivating that purple way too easily. Ah, I'm scared. What was I saying? I got really scared. The purple is just bleeding into the jam. Oh no. No! Now the green is bleeding into the red so easily. Oh gosh. Now the jam is moldy. We've got moldy jam now. Oh, now the blue! Every time something happens, it surprises me and I scream. Wow, that blue just really went for it, didn't it? Oh my god, stop. Please stop. I'm trying to mix it in so you don't see it. Oh no. No, the green! No, everything's bleeding. I'm scared. Oh my gosh, this suddenly went from, oh, this is kind of cute, to what is happening? Everything's on fire. Oh no, I meant to add white because it's jam and it's going to be wet and shiny. Oh no, I forgot when everything started bleeding and I got really distracted. Oops, that was too much purple. I knew that was going to happen. It's so hard to control how much these colors you grab. Wow, that was a mistake. Okay, that's okay. I'll just make a new red. Everything turned out a little too dark in this whole illustration. I think I just had a bit of a struggle grabbing just a little bit of pigment from these things and it just got really dark really fast. So just talking about what I did as an illustrator, things are very dark overall. There's not a lot of light happening in this illustration, so everything's kind of a dark blob. I do have a few issues with these watercolors. They're very pigmented, which is good, but they do bleed very easily. If you saw my jam, it was just barely touching the purple and the green, and it was just soaking in all of those previous colors that I put down, which is not something you want to happen to your illustrations. It's a very scary thing. But aside from that, they aren't very chalky. They're very pigmented. Overall, they were pretty nice to use except for the whole bleeding situation. Still very concerned and confused about this green purple situation. That's very interesting. But other than that, I had a lot of fun trying out these sheet watercolors. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to get your own Scrawlrbox, check out the link in the description. Thank you so much to Scrawlrbox for sending me this box. And thank you so much to featuring me. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay golden. Bye. And now a huge thank you to my wonderful patrons for all of their support. You guys are the best. If you want to be in the credits at the end of my videos, see secret sketches, coloring pages, early access, and more, check out my Patreon by clicking a link in the description. Thank you guys all so much for the support. Bye!